Phil, let's talk a little bit about the positives. We know that there's a lot of doom and gloom early on here with TFC in the MLS season, but let's talk about some of the positives. Let's talk about that world-class cheeky goal by Giovinco first. Have you ever seen anything like it in MLS before?
That was a pretty unique moment. I really enjoyed, just the way he played through. Both goals actually were I was extremely pleased to see him get rewarded for his hard work, and he's been a real standout so far this season, and it was a great goal, though.
Let's talk about another positive in my mind, Phil. I think that this team can score with the best of them in MLS. I think they can put the ball in the net, and that to me is something that is hard to find in MLS, is scoring, and they have it. Giovinco, we've seen. Finley early on chipped in with one. I think this team has it. Do you think they have it?
I do think that they definitely look more offensively capable, like Altidore in that first game scoring a brace as well, and you look at Sheru and these guys, they have the ability to be creative. They just have to, they're already getting to know one another. I think some of these international breaks are really becoming a little bit of a chemistry distraction as far as the gelling of the team, but they certainly do look capable. It's that back line that obviously has everybody worried.
Phil, I've said it and I'll state it again, and for the record, I still believe this team will get into the playoffs. And two guys to me, aside from Giovinco and Bradley, two guys to me that I think will make the difference in the long run are Perkis and Sheru, as you mentioned. I think these two guys are real important to this squad. We saw Sheru missing in action and the loss of his leadership as well and his qualities. I think these two guys, along with Bradley, Giovinco, and once Altidore gets going, I think these are the four guys that can bring him into the playoffs. Your thoughts?
I completely agree. Even watching Perkis on the weekend, and he made that mistake, but he took ownership of it. It shows the leadership on that back line, much like Stephen Caldwell, who's, battling his injuries, and he's getting a little bit slower in age, but he's still a pretty smart center back, and those guys are tasked with teaching the kids, and that's the hardest position on the team to learn, and these guys are young. Haglund and all of our new guys, too, they're brand new to the MLS, and they have a lot of work in front of them. But these veterans are key to the team. They show a lot of leadership, and we're really, I think it's going to pan out well, but it's going to take some time.
Phil, let's talk about the negative. Unfortunately, you mentioned Haglund there. Let's start with him. Let's talk about that back end. I got to tell you, I think he had a real rough couple games recently, and it's not that he's not trying out there. I think his foot speed right now is not there with some of the best in MLS that he has to defend. I think maybe he wasn't in the right position as well, and I just think overall defending has been real poor.
I agree. It's unacceptable. I think everybody watching that game Saturday night was just rattled, as rattled as that back line, if you're a TFC fan, watching the mistakes. I think, players do have bad games and whatnot, but this is something where these guys are young and they need the experience, and they're playing at a professional level, and we do need them to perform at that professional level. One goal, we were one poor goal away from at least earning a draw with Giovinco's, awesome second half there. So I think it's something that has to be addressed. They need to really examine that right back position and get people playing where they're supposed to be playing. Justin Morrow needs to be playing at left back. We've been really lucky in that Morgan has been a little bit of a bright spot, and he's able to step in and confidently perform there. And after losing a little bit of form last season, I think that he's on the rebound. And that's a good problem to have. We just need to have our regulars at center back, and we need to stop, this moving around everybody on that back line. It's not helping anybody.
I couldn't agree with you more, Phil, and I want to echo what you said. I think, to me, a bright spot this year has also been Ashton Morgan. This guy took a lot of criticism last year. This young Canadian player didn't get enough time under Nelson last year, and this is where I'm going to give credit to Greg Vanney. Greg Vanney saw something in Ashton Morgan. He believed in him. He loved his hustle. He loved his attitude. And look, he's repaying him back with blood, sweat, and tears and everything he's got out there. And I think he's one of the guys that really is leaving it all out there.
I agree. He's doing what you want a back to do. He's zipping up and supporting the forward play, and he's defensively running back and making sure that he's got coverage going. And then, a guy that we're sorely missing right now is a guy like Daniil Henry as well, who's moved on to greener pastures, but we need these center backs. We need this depth, and they're Canadian, and it would be great to have these guys, still performing in Canada. I think Daniil's a beast, and with the proper coaching, I think that he could be. I obviously wish him all the best, but I still wish at times like this, he's a very competent backup to our center backs.
One guy that I have not been impressed with this season so far, and unfortunately is a guy that's bounced around in MLS, and a guy that, yeah, he'll score you a big goal, but then he'll give up a couple passes that you shake your head at. That's Jackson. I mean, I enjoy his hustle. I enjoy his determination, but sometimes I'm wondering, what are you doing?
Yeah, he's got that ability to look a little bit lost, and when he's invisible, he's really invisible. And when he comes and he has that that twinkle in his eye, he seems to be able to make himself a real burden to some players and score us the odd goal. But I do find that he is pretty invisible. And another guy who I think is struggling this year, and I love him to death, is Osorio. I just don't find that he's very visible out there. And I think we need to really find those positions for those players where they can excel instead of I think Osorio has a lot of potential, and I really want him to succeed. And I just think that maybe he's a little bit out of position, or he's trying to get to know his role in that team, but I'm looking forward to him having stronger showings.
Phil, just before we let you go, obviously we have to talk about everything that's been going on the last 48 hours. The word out there is there's going to be change. And look, I've stated this and I'll state it again here live on my show. I've got a lot of time for Tim Bazbatchenko, Greg Vanney. Spent a lot of time on the sidelines last year with Greg in League One. Really classy, decent human being, a guy that cares about the club, the team, and his players. The same for Tim Bazbatchenko, down-to-earth, really caring human being, and has put most of the pieces of the puzzle together to succeed. Having said that, we know that Tim Leiweke is leaving at, I think, mid-June or at the end of June, and that they'll be looking for a new TFC president. I just tweeted something out that I believe could happen. I believe that the former Toronto Blizzard, former Juve and Italian star, possibly Roberto Bettega, could be on his way. I'm not sure of that, but something tells me where there is that position available as new TFC president, something could happen there. What do you know? What are you hearing? And what do you think about it?
I'm just hearing, that they're interviewing lots of different candidates. Well, maybe not lots is an overstatement, but there are Italian names that are showing up that they're definitely interviewing or examining that role. And I think that that's an important point, is that Tim Leiweke is going to be leaving, and we all know that. He's pretty open about it, and it's going to be, I think, the end of June. And when he leaves, I think one thing that he's done for Toronto FC in the portfolio of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment is really pushed it up to be on par with the Leafs and the Raptors when they're talking about these teams, and no longer languishing maybe with the Marlies as far as being thought of as a secondary club in the city. So he's gotten us to the table, and I think to protect that, we're looking at the possibility of getting a new president or CEO of MLS and E altogether, and that person might not have the same passion for soccer. So by installing a president, I think it's probably a good idea. I've always thought it's a good idea to have a president in charge of operations for a team like Toronto FC, to have that vision, to have that idea of how they want that team to function and execute. And it's something that I think we're really going to need with the absence of Tim Leiweke, because he's put all this money into the stadium. There's an awful lot of money going into it. But a new person who's maybe not so focused on soccer as a sport, maybe they start cutting down on the player expenditures and things like that. And you'll see changes made that deprioritize or maybe put other tenants ahead, or other opportunities that they have ahead in terms of the stadium usage and things like that. There are ways that they could twist Toronto FC into being in that back seat again. And I think by putting in someone of prominence and trying to really realize the expansion and the potential in this sport, in this market, is a really smart way to make sure that the longevity is there for it.
You know, Phil, when Tim Leiweke was hired at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, I was over the moon. And I still got to tell you, I think it was a real good hiring. I like that Tim Leiweke was part of this Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment umbrella. I'm glad that he was here to help TFC bring Defoe over, whether he was a flop or not. He brought the attention here, Bradley, Jovinko, on and on and on. So to me, I have no problems at all with Leiweke and what he brought to the table here. And when he leaves, I'll be the first one to say, thank you, Tim, for what you did. And I mean that straight up. I'm not here to kiss anyone's you-know-what, but I really think Tim did a lot. Now, as we close it out, let me ask you this, Phil. I've been thinking about this the last number of days with the losses that have accumulated. I don't understand for the life of me, why wouldn't TFC play a few games at Rogers Centre and then go to BMO? Do you know why?
I think there's a real reluctance to put games at Skydome there, because I don't think there's any money that's really made. I think the people at Skydome, they're great staff and everything, but I don't think it's their primary choice to have the game played there either. They find the soccer crowd a little bit difficult to manage. It can be done, and it has been done, but I think the preference is to play at BMO, and they wanted to show off their new shiny stadium, and they took this gamble. And in hindsight, it's a bad gamble. A couple of home games, even at the Skydome, would probably be preferable to this long, drawn out, experience that we're all going through. Like, we're just trying to get ourselves to away games right now, just so we can feel close to the team and see them live. And that's a tough spot to be in as a supporter. But, we do it out of love for the team, and we always will. But it's nice to have those home games, especially. It still doesn't even feel like the season's real to me in a lot of ways. And I've been to already a few away games. So, that part of it, I do think that, to keep the interest and to liven up the marketplace and to keep the confidence in the team, they should probably be trying to play a few games at home.
You're bang on. But to me, in the end, Phil, I think you would agree with me. Winning cures all. Rumors go away, talk goes away, and everyone puts a smile on as winning takes place. Once that happens, there'll be no more discussion about this guy leaving, this guy going, this guy coming, on and on, because winning cures all. Correct, Phil?
Yep, 100%. If we get 3 points this weekend, I think we're going to be on a different path of conversation, but it's a tough opponent, right? Orlando City have got great players and they're playing a good system, so.